Well, Monday, two women who were victims in a brutal murder in Englewood will be laid to rest. Police say Bethany McLaren and her daughter, 35-year-old Ruth, were killed March 25th.
Bethany's husband, 81-year-old Reginald McLaren, is accused of killing them with an axe. Authorities had a difficult time finding relatives of the victims to mourn them.
Yeah, Alan Janae is here with the story of how they turned to Colorado's Nepali community for help on this.
Really an inspiring story in a way here. Authorities worried there would be no one to claim the bodies of Bethany and Ruth McLaren. And Reginald McLaren was not helping. They knew Bethany McLaren first got a Social Security number after arriving in the U.S. somewhere in the 80s and a little bit more, but no one knew her relatives. In the dim light of candles, a small group of people joined together a few days after the killings of Bethany and Ruth McLaren. They had learned something about the victims others did not yet know. The coroner's office called you.
Yeah, they called me the Tuesday after the murders.
Ann Hines and Sangeeta Shrotria are both part of the Colorado Nepal Alliance, and the coroner had found the mom, Bethany, had another name.
The fact that her name was Pavitra was a good clue that she might, if she wasn't Nepali, that being of Nepali descent was likely.
And so they set to work to find family to remember them and their past. Somebody has to mourn these women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a photo from Bethany McLaren's license, Sangeeta began to ask everyone she could in the 10,000-plus member Nepali community.
So I took the picture to the funeral, said that, do you guys know her? And there were around like 600 people, and nobody could tell that they knew her.
Adding to the difficulty was that they could not say why.
We weren't allowed to say that there had been 2 homicides.
Because family had yet to be informed. One person knew someone who was helped by a woman named Pavitra more than a dozen years ago, and she helped him find a job. So she was a kind woman.
She was, yeah.
Then, after our reporting of the name got out, a woman reached out from India, one who as a little girl once posed for a photo with Ruth McLaren.
Then she opened up, and it happened to be Pavitra's niece.
Pavitra was Nepali, but raised in northern India.
It looks like they have been in India for a few generations, because both of Pavitra and her sister were born in India.
Ruth was born in the 80s after Pavitra married and moved to the U.S. She had a disability and lived with her parents until the end. With family unable, Ann and Sangeeta are now organizing the funeral to bury mom and daughter together. You didn't have to do this.
Yeah, I did have to do it. Because
And it's okay.
these women were so brutally murdered.
Yeah.
And so few people in the Denver metro area knew them. And I could not imagine that there were people there that were grieving for them.
Which there will be. Coloradans who care, ensuring how their story is told.
There are so many uncovered part of the stories that we don't know yet or about their life. I'm sure they have touched more life than we know.
I'm sure they have to.
Yeah.
Bethany's full maiden name was Pavitra Rana. She had a background in nursing, and she worked as a nurse in India. Now, the state has a fund that will help pay for much of the burial, but the Nepal Alliance is working to take care of the rest, like a grave marker for 2 women they won't forget.
Beautiful hearts, beautiful story. Thank you, Alan.